As we step into this new year, I want to share a message that might sound simple, yet it's incredibly powerful. Focus only on yourself in 2025. In a world that constantly pulls us in 1,000 directions, where we are bombarded with expectations, comparisons, and the pressure to be everything for everyone, it's easy to lose sight of what truly matters. But the truth is, the most important relationship you have in this world is the one you have with yourself. When you make the decision to focus on yourself, you are giving yourself the permission to grow, to heal, and to become the best version of who you are meant to be. Focusing on yourself in 2025 is not about selfishness. It is about self-respect. In a world that demands our attention, energy, and time at every turn, we often forget to give ourselves the most fundamental thing we need: our own care and attention. We live in a culture that promotes busyness, that encourages us to stretch ourselves thin in order to meet the needs and demands of others. From work to family to social obligations, it can often feel as though we are constantly giving without taking the time to nurture ourselves. But the truth is, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot be your best self for others if you do not first take care of your own needs. Focusing on yourself is the act of acknowledging that your mental, emotional, and physical well-being is essential to the life you are creating. It's recognizing that you are worthy of your own time and energy, and that by honoring yourself, you are in a better position to show up for others in a meaningful and authentic way. This year, choose to put yourself first. Not out of pride or ego, but out of a deep sense of self-respect. The energy we give to others must first be replenished by ourselves. Self-care is often framed as indulgent or frivolous in society, but in reality, it is a necessary act of preserving our own mental health. Whether it's setting boundaries, taking time to recharge, or engaging in activities that nurture our souls, focusing on yourself means taking the time to listen to your own needs and responding with compassion and care. There is strength in taking time for yourself. It takes strength to resist the pull of societal expectations, to say no to invitations, to step away from obligations that drain you. Saying no is not about being unkind or uncaring. It's about knowing your limits and respecting your boundaries. When you prioritize yourself, you make room for the things that nourish you, for the things that bring you joy, and for the things that allow you to grow. It's easy to fall into the trap of constantly pleasing others, of saying yes when you really want to say no, of filling your calendar with commitments out of a sense of obligation. But when you focus on yourself, you give yourself permission to live authentically. You allow yourself the freedom to honor your own needs, desires, and aspirations without guilt or shame. By focusing on yourself, you reclaim the power to choose how you spend your time. Time is the most valuable resource we have, and how we choose to spend it defines the quality of our lives. When we give all our time and energy to others, we risk losing ourselves in the process. We risk forgetting what brings us joy, what fuels our passion, and what makes us feel alive. The truth is, when we do not make time for ourselves, we can become disconnected from who we truly are. But the constant pressure to meet external expectations can cause us to forget our own desires and dreams. Focusing on yourself means reconnecting with those things. It means setting aside the time to listen to your own heart, to ask yourself what you truly want, and to make space for the things that help you grow and thrive. In focusing on yourself, you create an environment where you are allowed to grow without comparison or judgment. It's easy to get caught up in comparing your progress to that of others. Social media, for example, creates an illusion that everyone else has it all together, that everyone else is ahead of you, that you are somehow falling behind. But comparison only steals our peace and leads to self-doubt. When you focus on yourself, you stop measuring your worth against someone else's journey. You stop chasing someone else's idea of success, and instead, you start defining success on your own terms. You acknowledge that your path is unique and that your progress is valid, no matter how slow it may seem at times. Focusing on yourself means being kind to yourself when things don't go as planned, and it means celebrating every small victory along the way. The act of focusing on yourself also allows you to engage in healing and growth. Each of us has past experiences, wounds, and challenges that need attention. Often we get so caught up in the busyness of life that we ignore these things or push them aside. But these unhealed wounds shape our lives, and they affect how we show up in the world. Focusing on yourself allows you the space to confront your past, to heal from old wounds, and to grow into the person you want to become. It is a commitment to doing the inner work, to processing the emotions and experiences that have shaped you, and to letting go of what no longer serves you. Healing takes time, and it takes compassion. By focusing on yourself, you are giving yourself the opportunity to heal, to release the weight of the past, and to step into a future that is full of possibility. Focusing on yourself means giving yourself permission to rest and recharge. We live in a world that glorifies hustle and productivity. There is a constant push to do more, be more, and achieve more. But rest is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Our bodies and minds need time to recover, to regenerate, and to restore balance. When we focus on ourselves, we allow ourselves the time to rest without guilt. We acknowledge that rest is a vital part of being able to show up as our best selves, both for ourselves and for others. In taking time to recharge, we are not only caring for our physical well-being, but we are also recharging our creativity, our passion, and our ability to be present. Rest is an act of self-compassion, and it is crucial to living a balanced and fulfilled life. Focusing on yourself, you create a stronger foundation for your relationships with others. The healthier and more centered you are, the healthier your relationships will be. When we focus on our own well-being, we are better equipped to support and care for those around us. We stop giving from an empty cup and we begin to give from a place of abundance. By prioritizing ourselves, we become better partners, better friends, better colleagues. Our relationships become more authentic because we are no longer pretending to be something we're not. We show up in a way that is grounded in our truth, which allows others to do the same. Ultimately, focusing on yourself is about honoring who you are and what you need. It's about creating a life that is aligned with your values, your desires, and your well-being. It's about embracing the power of self-respect and making choices that support your growth, your peace, and your happiness. It's not about being selfish. It's about being whole. When you focus on yourself, you become more connected to your own truth. You build the strength and resilience needed to navigate life's challenges, and you create the space for your best self to emerge. This is the year to focus on yourself, to prioritize your own growth and healing, and to show up for the world in the fullest, most authentic way possible. When you make the decision to focus on yourself in 2025, it's important to understand that this is not a decision to turn away from the world or abandon your relationships. It's about giving yourself the care, respect, and attention that you often give to others. And perhaps even more importantly, it's about learning to value your own needs and desires. The world around us is constantly pulling us in different directions, whether it's the demands of work, family, or society, and we often forget to prioritize ourselves. We get caught up in the busyness of life, trying to meet expectations and fulfill responsibilities, all while neglecting the person who needs our love and care the most, ourselves. Focusing on yourself is not a selfish act, but a necessary one for living a balanced and fulfilling life. When we focus on ourselves, we are making a commitment to nurturing our own growth and well-being. Too often we think of self-care as a luxury, something that can be put off until later when everything else is taken care of. But in reality, self-care is the foundation for everything else in our lives. If we do not take care of ourselves, we risk burning out, becoming resentful, or losing touch with our true desires and purpose. Focusing on yourself is about recognizing that your mental, physical, and emotional health is just as important as the needs of others. It's about giving yourself the space to heal, to recharge, and to grow without feeling guilty or inadequate. One of the key aspects of focusing on yourself is learning how to set healthy boundaries. Often, we say yes to others out of obligation or fear of disappointing them, even when it comes at the expense of our own well-being. But when we focus on ourselves, we recognize that saying no is not a rejection of others. It is an affirmation of our own needs. Setting boundaries means protecting your time and energy so that you can prioritize what matters most to you. It's about giving yourself permission to step back and choose what you want to engage in, rather than simply reacting to the needs and expectations of others. This boundary setting isn't about being cold or indifferent. It's about being honest with yourself and others about what you can realistically give. Focusing on yourself also gives you the opportunity to reconnect with your own passions and interests. In the hustle and bustle of life, it's easy to lose sight of the things that bring us joy, the hobbies and activities that once made us feel alive. We become so focused on fulfilling our responsibilities that we forget to engage with the things that nourish our souls. By making the decision to focus on yourself, you create space to rediscover those passions, whether it's writing, painting, exercising, or simply spending time in nature. Focusing on yourself means giving yourself permission to do the things that make you feel whole. These activities not only bring joy and fulfillment, but they also help to recharge your energy and restore your sense of balance. It's also important to remember that focusing on yourself means addressing your mental and emotional health. We often push through difficult emotions or ignore our mental health because we feel the need to stay strong for others. But our emotions and mental state deserve attention and care, just like our physical health. Focusing on yourself means giving yourself permission to process your feelings, to seek support when needed, and to take the time you need to heal. It's about recognizing that your emotional well-being is just as important as any other aspect of your life, and it requires ongoing attention and care. Another crucial element of focusing on yourself is embracing self-compassion. We live in a world that constantly demands more from us, and it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we are never doing enough. But focusing on yourself means learning to be kind to yourself, to celebrate your successes, and to forgive yourself for your mistakes. It's about recognizing that you are doing the best you can with the resources and knowledge you have at this moment. Self-compassion means accepting that you are a work in progress and that it's okay to not have everything figured out. It means being gentle with yourself on the days when things don't go as planned, and giving yourself credit for the effort, not just the outcome. As you focus on yourself in 2025, remember that this is not about withdrawing from the world or becoming isolated. It's about building a strong foundation of self-respect, self-care, and personal growth. When you focus on yourself, you are better equipped to show up for others in a more authentic and meaningful way. You can give more fully, love more deeply, and be more present because you have taken the time to fill your own cup. By focusing on your own well-being, you are not only improving your life, but you are also creating a positive impact on the lives of those around you. It's a win-win. In a world that continuously demands our attention and energy, it's easy to become overwhelmed by external expectations. Whether it's family, work, or societal pressures, it often feels as though there is always something pulling us in a new direction, asking for more of our time, more of our effort, more of our emotional energy. When this happens, It's easy to forget one crucial truth. If we don't take care of ourselves first, we cannot show up in the world in a meaningful or sustainable way. Focusing on yourself is not about being selfish. It's about giving yourself the attention and care you need in order to live a life that is aligned with your values, dreams, and purpose. It's about acknowledging that you are worthy of love, care, and respect, not just from others, but from yourself as well. Focusing on yourself is an act of self-respect. Too often, we think that taking care of our own needs and desires is selfish, that it's somehow wrong to prioritize ourselves. We feel guilty for taking time for self-care or pursuing personal growth because we are constantly told that we should be doing things for others. But here's the thing. We cannot pour from an empty cup. We cannot give our best selves to others if we are not first nurturing ourselves. When we focus on ourselves, we are essentially filling our own cup so that we have more to give to the world. This self-respect is not an indulgence. It is an essential part of maintaining our well-being. We cannot live a life of purpose, passion, or joy if we are constantly giving everything we have to others without taking the time to replenish ourselves. It's also important to take the time for ourselves, create new rituals, celebrate new milestones, and reassess for the people we admire. One of the most important aspects of focusing on yourself is learning to set boundaries. We live in a culture that often encourages overcommitment, that teaches us to say yes to every request and obligation, even when it drains us. We fear letting others down or disappointing them, so we say yes when we really want to say no. But setting boundaries is an act of love for ourselves and for others. When we focus on ourselves, we learn to say no without guilt, knowing that saying no is not an act of rejection, but a way to protect our own energy. It's about recognizing our own limits and respecting them. By setting boundaries, we create space for ourselves to rest, recharge, and focus on what truly matters. It also gives others the opportunity to learn how to respect our time and energy. It's not just about what we say yes to, but what we choose to say no to in order to preserve our peace and well-being. In focusing on yourself, you also make room to reconnect with your passions and dreams. Life has a way of pulling us in so many directions that we often lose sight of the things that once brought us joy. We get caught up in the daily grind, in meeting obligations, and in pleasing others, and we forget to nurture our own desires. When we focus on ourselves, we allow ourselves the freedom to rediscover what makes us feel alive. Whether it's a hobby we've neglected, a career goal we've put on hold, or a dream we've been too afraid to pursue, focusing on yourself means giving yourself permission to invest time and energy into the things that matter to you. By doing this, we create a life that is meaningful and fulfilling. Reconnecting with our passions is not just about enjoyment. It's about rediscovering what drives us, what makes us feel like we are truly living. These passions are often the things that give us the energy and motivation to keep moving forward, even when life gets tough. As the light gets brighter, so too the passions grow. Focusing on yourself also means prioritizing your mental and emotional well-being. We live in a society that places a heavy emphasis on physical health, but mental and emotional health are just as important. When we are constantly caring for others or pushing ourselves to meet external expectations, we often neglect our own mental health. Focusing on yourself means recognizing the importance of mental and emotional care. It means giving yourself the space to process difficult emotions, to seek help when needed, and to take time for rest and reflection. It's about taking the time to check in with yourself, to see how you're truly feeling, and to make adjustments when necessary. We all go through difficult periods, and focusing on ourselves means allowing ourselves to grace to heal and grow during those times. It's about practicing self-compassion, accepting that it's okay not to be okay sometimes, and knowing that taking care of your mental health is a critical part of your overall well-being. Another key element of focusing on yourself is learning to embrace your own uniqueness. It's easy to get caught up in comparison, especially in a world that constantly shows us other people's successes and achievements. Social media often exacerbates this, making it seem as though everyone else has it all together while we struggle to keep up. But focusing on yourself means letting go of comparison and embracing your own journey. It's about recognizing that your path is uniquely yours and that your story, struggles, and triumphs are valid, even if they don't look like anyone else's. When we focus on ourselves, we stop measuring our worth against others, and instead, we start defining success based on what matters to us. It's not about how others perceive us, but about how we feel about ourselves. Focusing on yourself means celebrating your uniqueness and allowing your authentic self to shine without fear of judgment or comparison. The beauty of focusing on yourself is that it creates space for growth and healing. Life is full of challenges, and we all carry some form of baggage, whether it's from past experiences, past relationships, or past mistakes. But focusing on yourself gives you the opportunity to address these issues. It's about giving yourself permission to heal from the past, to forgive yourself, and to release the things that no longer serve you. Focusing on yourself is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about taking the time to learn, grow, and evolve. We are all works in progress, and by focusing on yourself, you allow yourself the time and space to become the person you are meant to be. You give yourself the freedom to make mistakes, learn from them, and continue moving forward with greater wisdom and resilience. Focusing on yourself in 2025 is a powerful decision. It's an act of self-love, self-respect, and personal empowerment. It's about choosing to invest in your own well-being, to prioritize your own needs, and to create a life that is aligned with your values and passions. When you focus on yourself, you are not abandoning others. You are investing in your ability to show up as the best version of yourself and for those around you. This year, make the commitment to focus on yourself. By doing so, you will create a stronger, more resilient, and more fulfilled version of yourself. And in turn, you will be able to give more, love more, and live more authentically than ever before. When you choose to focus on yourself, you're not ignoring the world around you or neglecting the people in your life. Rather, you're acknowledging that your mental, emotional, and physical well-being must come first in order to be your best self for others. We often hear about the importance of caring for others, of putting others' needs before our own. But what happens when we constantly give without replenishing ourselves? This is when we constantly give without replenishing ourselves. We become depleted, stressed, and disconnected from the very things that keep us grounded. Focusing on yourself is not about selfishness. It is about self-respect, recognizing that you can't pour from an empty cup. Only when we care for our own needs can we truly show up for others in a way that is genuine, supportive, and meaningful. And focusing on yourself begins with understanding that self-care is not just a luxury or an afterthought. It is essential. We often put our own well-being on the back burner because we feel guilty or believe there is no time. We push through exhaustion, anxiety, and stress, thinking that we'll rest later. But that mindset often leads to burnout. When we focus on ourselves, we allow ourselves to take a step back and listen to what our body and mind are telling us. This might mean taking a day off when we feel overwhelmed, saying no to social obligations when we're drained, or even prioritizing a quiet evening at home over endless work demands. It's about giving yourself the permission to rest and recharge. knowing that this is not indulgent. It is necessary for your long-term health and happiness. Learning how to set healthy boundaries is another vital part of focusing on yourself. We often say yes to commitments, obligations, and expectations because we fear disappointing others or feeling guilty. But saying yes to everything can stretch us too thin and leave us feeling resentful, stressed, and exhausted. Focusing on yourself means learning how to set limits that protect your time, energy, and well-being. It's about saying no when necessary, understanding that your own needs deserve attention just as much as the needs of others. Boundaries don't make us unkind or unloving. They allow us to be present, grounded, and able to show up for the people and things that truly matter to us. In addition to boundaries, focusing on yourself gives you the opportunity to reconnect with your passions and interests. Often, we get so wrapped up in our daily responsibilities that we lose sight of the things that bring us joy and fulfillment. We get stuck in routines that don't align with our deepest desires, and as a result, we may feel disconnected from ourselves. Focusing on yourself means taking the time to rediscover what lights you up. Whether it's a hobby you've neglected, a dream you've put aside, or simply spending time doing things that bring you peace. By doing so, you reconnect with your sense of purpose and passion. Engaging with your passions not only brings joy, but also provides a much-needed sense of balance in your life. Furthermore, focusing on yourself allows you to work on your emotional and mental health. In the rush of life, it's easy to ignore our feelings, push aside our emotions, or avoid dealing with stress and anxiety. But our emotional well-being is just as important as our physical health. When we focus on ourselves, we make space to process difficult emotions, to reflect on our experiences, and to seek help when needed. It might mean talking to a therapist, journaling, or practicing mindfulness. It's about giving yourself permission to heal from past wounds, to release negative thoughts, and to embrace the healing process. Emotional and mental health work isn't always easy, but it's vital for living a full and authentic life. Focusing on yourself also involves embracing your own uniqueness and letting go of comparison. It's easy to look at others and feel as though we're not measuring up. Social media, for example, often promotes unrealistic standards and creates a false narrative of what success or happiness should look like. But when we focus on ourselves, we learn to appreciate our own journey without comparing it to anyone else's. We begin to define success on our own terms. Our growth, progress, and accomplishments are valid, even if they don't fit into someone else's idea of success. Focusing on yourself means embracing who you are, acknowledging your strengths and weaknesses, and moving forward with confidence in your own path. Focusing on yourself is not about isolating yourself from others or neglecting the needs of those you love. It's about creating a healthy balance where you can take care of yourself and still show up for others in a meaningful way. When you are well-rested, emotionally balanced, and mentally clear, you are in a better position to give to others. You become a source of support, love, and positivity because you are nurturing your own well-being. By focusing on yourself, you are giving yourself the opportunity to be the best version of who you are, someone who can contribute to the world around them from a place of strength, clarity, and compassion.